Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to use the new contracts portion of the site. So to get started, we're going to head down to the contracts menu option, and then I'm going to click on contract templates. A contract template is basically the same thing as a regular contract, but the main difference is that in a template you'll have dynamic variables that you can use to replace your regular client names, prices, and other things of that sort. So you can either create a contract template using the Create New Custom Template button at the top, or you can click Copy and Customize if you want to start with one of the samples that we have. We're going to go ahead and get started with one of the samples, so I'm going to click Copy and Customize. And here you'll see that sample. In this sample, it's a model release for an adult, has no subtitle. It's listed as a model release type of contract. You can change it to anything you'd like if you have other contract types that you're going to be creating. And then here's the actual body of the contract itself. You can see in the contract we have these things here. These are any values that are surrounded by double square brackets. These are going to be our variables. And these are going to be the items that are replaced when we create the actual contract for each of our clients. Now these variables don't have to be anything specific, it's just anything that has this double square brackets around it that's going to be considered a variable within your contract. We have a couple of pre-created variables that you can choose from if you'd like. You just select the item that you want here and it'll add it to your contract. So if I want to put one here, I'll click Dynamic Content, and then I'll select Client State, and it'll add that for you here. Now like I said, this doesn't have to be anything specific. If you have something in your contract that you want to replace that's not in that list, you can just type it in here. Just anything you want. Now another option that's available to you is if you have a variable that has a default value. For example, maybe you have a session that you charge a specific amount for usually, but sometimes it's different. You can still make that a variable. We'll call it session fee. And you can give it a default value by putting curly braces around whatever the default value is. So in this case it might be $500. And that's going to be the default value for this variable. Let's go ahead and save this. We'll save the contract template. The page will refresh, and you can see the new contract template that's been added right here. Now to use this contract template to make an actual contract, let's click again on Contract and select the Contracts option here. In here we can see that there's no contracts currently, but we're going to go ahead and click the Create New Contract button. I'll select the template that I just created, which is down here in the Custom Templates area. Give it a contract title, a subtitle if you'd like, and a due date. Now the due date is required, but it can be anything you'd like it to be, so you can set it as far away or as close as you'd like it. We're going to go ahead and just select the end of the month. And then here, the contract signatures section, we're going to add your own name. This is going to be the name that's going to appear in the signature area. So I'll say Adam Ellis, and support@instaproofs.com will be my email address. My primary client, I will say, is Ryan Ethan. And his email address is ryan@gmail.com. Alright, now if you have two clients that you're going to want signatures from, you're going to add the second client's name and email address here. And once you've got that set up, we'll click Next. And this will take us into the contract itself. The contract has two sections, the Dynamic Content section and the Contract Layout section. Anything that we change in the Dynamic Content section will be reflected here in the body of the contract. So for example, we see here model release for adult. If we wanted to change this to say Ryan, it puts it onto there. We can add a subtitle to the contract here. We can just make it say subtitle for the contract in this example. And then here we see all the contract values. Now these are the dynamic variables that we saw in the template itself. On this side you can see them in blue. On the actual finished contract, there's not going to be any blue coloring or blue outline. This is just to make it easier for you to see on the contract right here. Every one of these values is going to be required because these are blanks within the contract. So for our client's street address, let's put 123 Happy Street, and you can see here that it's added to the contract for us. Doing the same thing here, we'll put New York, client state, New York, postal code 01258. Okay, same thing for our own company name, street address, etc. And the session fee here that we put that had a default value of 500, you can see that the default value was applied, but we can change that if we'd like just by changing it here. Underneath the dynamic values, you'll see the signature area details, and these are the items that you put on the page before this, but you can change them here if you need to. So if we wanted to add a secondary client, we could put it here, Pam Wells, pam@gmail.com. And you can see here that it added a new signature area for Pam. At the bottom we can save it as a draft, or we can finalize it and request signatures. Saving it as a draft allows us to save it with all the values we've already put into it, and then we can come back to it later if we need to make changes before sending it to our clients. We'll go ahead and do that. The page will refresh, and we can see here a draft mode of the model release that we just created. From the options here, we can either edit it or delete it. We'll go ahead and edit it. Scroll down to the bottom. Now instead of saving it as a draft, we're going to go ahead and select Finalize and Request Signatures. And what that's going to do is it's going to send an email to each of the different email addresses here, and everyone's going to have their own copy of the contract to sign. So we'll click Finalize and Request Signatures. Save. It asks us to confirm that we really want to do that. We're going to go ahead and say yes. The emails will be sent, the page will refresh, and you'll see here that it's now waiting. It's waiting for signatures. Now you can either wait for an email to come to you, so you can click on the email and sign it from there, or as the photographer, you can click into the options and view and sign the contract right from the options. The other options here are revert to draft and then delete it. If you revert it to a draft, your clients won't be able to sign it anymore, and you'll have to send them a new copy before they can sign it. So let's go ahead and view and sign the contract. You can see here that it's got the same contract title and subtitle. It's got all the values that we put in there for the variables. And at the bottom, we're going to have an area for us to sign the document. In addition to our signing area here, you can see that their signatures are still pending for the other people. If they'd already signed this, you'd see their actual signatures in this area. I'm going to go ahead and sign it. It asks me for my signature. I'll give it here. Apply my signature. And then it says that my signature's been added, but I need to click the Save and Submit button to finalize it. I'm going to go ahead and save and submit. It says success, your signature's been recorded. And now that's recorded and can't be undone unless we revert the contract to a draft. We can close this up. And now if we were to go back into that contract again, let's click here to go into it, you can see that the signature has been added and that it's waiting for these two. I can't sign it again, but it says here you sign this contract on, and it gives the date. And that's all there is to that contract. As soon as your clients sign the contract, the status will change from waiting to signed, and that's how you'll know that it's done. You'll also get an email alerting you to the fact that it's been signed, and you'll be good to go. Once the contract's been signed by everyone, the contract is then legally binding, and you can go ahead and do whatever it is the contract was meant to do.